Yes, welcome to the Bladtcast. Just add the way of water. It is our Avatar 2 reaction special. Very excited to be here for each and every one of you. As always, I am Christian Blatt, a semi-regular contributor to the show. The one, the only Mr. Eric Connor is here with us.
Hello, one and all.
And happy night 2 of Hanukkah to you, Eric.
Toda Rabah. Toda Rabah. I just cursed all of you, by the way.
Yeah, no, I did notice that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I'm cursed.
It's the real subtext of tonight.
Also back tonight, Mr. Flobo Boyce. New content every day.
And I don't celebrate Hanukkah. I'm so glad to be here, though.
And Flobo, it's getting so close to the time of year where it's appropriate for me to greet you with a regular greeting. Happy New Year! Happy New Year. And Marisa Serafini, it has been a minute since you've been on the Bladtcast. I think it was the Oscars that A Star Is Born was up for. I think that was the last time you were on.
That's true. I think so. I think you're right.
With
how many times did you?
Though the original?
No, the Chris Christopherson one. Yeah. So we did an episode in 1976, before half of this panel was born. Yeah,
I love how you bring that up because I literally was listening to a song from A Star Is Born soundtrack tonight. So very coincidental. It's like
how many
the universe knew we were going to talk to each other again.
How many times
6
did you
times
end up seeing it theatrically? That is theatrically 6 times.
6 times in theater.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Too. Is that the record for you? 6?
Yeah, personal record.
Wow.
I'm quite proud of that. Nothing has beat it since.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's a great transition. Is there any chance that Avatar 2 is likely to beat it? And have you see that 6 times, Marisa?
6 times in one day would be the real
challenge. Do the math. I don't know how many hours that would be in theaters. That's a lot.
It would be 18
I think that'd be too much water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be too much water. And then some. No, too much water for me for 18 hours. I feel like I'm actually drowning.
You would need to wear a life jacket and like one of the little like lifesavers, and I mean that in the sense that it looks like the little candy.
Right, the one that you like pull out and inflate and brings you to
right, yeah. Which that would tie into another James Cameron vehicle, which would be the one about the sinking ships. But in any case, Marisa, you saw this over the weekend, and I had, as you know, for ages I'd been wanting to find an excellent excuse to bring you back on. So by you seeing that movie, I was like, but now you have to come on. And you're like, no, I can't. I'm traveling. I'm like, what's the day you're traveling? Great. Come on the night before instead of packing. So
right.
you saw it over the weekend. What format did you see it in?
I saw it in the proper.
Something better to do.
Right. The IMAX 3D. So
yes.
I like to think I did it. I saw it properly.
And Flobo and I saw it together. He was my plus one for the press screening in Burbank, and it was also IMAX 3D. Eric, did you do the 2D on your Apple Watch? Did you think that was the best way to watch it?
I illegally downloaded it to my old iPod video, and that's the only way to really watch it. Is that
it is widescreen?
And unfortunately, the color's broken on that, so it was also black and white.
Oh, yeah. No, it was actually very film noir. I mean, I don't know if I saw the same movie as you guys, in fact. No, I did see it on IMAX 3D. Although, technically, the AMC Burbank, they call it Limax because it's not really IMAX. Like, it's bigger than the average bearer, but it's not really an IMAX. But it looked pretty darn good.
It's max enough, okay?
Max
That's the way I feel about it, yeah. All right, so, Marisa,
yes.
What were your thoughts on the first Avatar, and how did that inform your decision making when it came to the consideration to see Avatar 2?
All right. Admittedly, I'm gonna make this as short as possible. When the first one came out, I was in college. I was in film school, Flobo, and we've talked about this. But I was already in that snooty mentality, be like, I don't want to watch that. So I totally missed the first, emotional experience of watching Avatar, and I missed that whole boat. So, and I watched it regularly on a regular TV the first time I saw it. And then when it came back into theaters just a few months ago, I saw it in, for the re-release, and to get ready for this one, I saw it in IMAX 3D. I was like, all right, I have a second chance. I'm going to see it properly. I did it. I was like, all right, I understand why this was such a big deal back in 2009. And I appreciated it. Like, I get it. And it mentally put me in the right space to get excited for Avatar Way of Water. So I was like, I enjoyed it more. I got more out of it the second time around, watching the first one.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And if you want to talk about snootiness in film school, I'll point out that Eric is an instructor at the New York Film Academy, and I believe you head up you're the snootiness chair. Is that your title?
Oh yeah,
I'm on the subcommittee. But I'm not quite a chair.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wear a monocle during all those subcommittee meetings. Long cigarette holder, though I don't smoke.
I forgot that Nunzio is the grand poobah of all of that. So, just trying to make you laugh by dropping a name of somebody you actually work with. It's literally just for you.
Right.
I'll share a picture of him later, so then we all can think back to this moment. I'm like, that was clever.
That was accurate. I'm gonna ask the same question to all of you, but Jason Blair is up late in Austin, so let me share some of his comments. I love how they're all saying Avatar 3, 4, 5, etc. are already greenlit, when I had never heard anyone say, you know what we need is a sequel to Avatar. My apologies. And then Jason also adds, I don't even plan to see this movie, so I don't care if it gets spoiled by me being here.
Can I legit? I feel like I felt the same way after the first one, the original, I guess, because it came out like around this time. Like I was home for the holidays between film school years, and I was like, that's pretty good, but it felt complete. Like I wasn't adverse to a sequel. I just try to rack my brain as to what will be the point of a sequel, and we'll get into it. This one basically not resets, but puts the story somewhere else and allows a world to build that way, which is pretty much what I wanted. So like, I didn't want a direct sequel to Avatar, but what we got was a nice start to what a franchise would be.
Yeah, I think Eric and I have talked about this in the sense that this is really kind of the cinematic aftermath or cinematic Golden Palace, the sequel to the beloved property that then became something that you were like, oh no, I mean, B. Arthur's not even in this. Why are they running a restaurant? But and I mean, look, I agree. I saw the first one, and I saw it in, top-notch projection. I went to the Hollywood ArcLight back when that was a thing, people of LA. And I did go in the middle of the movie and like exchange my 3D glasses because I was like, there's got to be something wrong with these. And then I was like, oh, nope, that's just what it looks like. Okay. But I completely respected the technical achievement, the visuals. It was cool. I do remember that I wasn't the only one who said that it was basically Dances with Smurfs. It was Dances with Wolves, adding in the blue people, the commune of the Smurf village. It really, I really felt like that's what the first one was. So I have not been excited for any of these. I also do not think that there will be an Avatar 5. I think we're going to see how this one does. And I think he's got 3 and 4 done. And I think that there could very well just be Disney calling him in and saying like, yeah, you made that deal with Fox. We're going to give you a couple mil for you to tie up any loose ends, but you're not starting any more of these. You've been shooting 3 movies concurrently for more than a decade. And, earlier this week, Edie Falco was on The View, and she said she filmed her stuff for this movie 4 years ago. And she actually thought that it came out and it must not have done well because no one talked about it because she did it so long ago. She's like, oh, that's coming out now. So she was doing a press tour where she's like, I mean, I don't even remember being in this movie. You want to talk about The Sopranos or Nurse Jackie?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I agree with Flobo. I was not looking to return to Pandora. And first person to make a Spotify joke gets a nickel. Eric, after you saw the original Avatar. What were your thoughts of that movie and sort of looking forward?
When I saw that, was it 2009 it came out? I was trying to remember, right?
Yeah, it's 09.
Yeah, it looks like, I think, Marisa seems to have done her homework.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I just remembered because I was already in my early film school days.
And I was already just old. But I have to admit, I loved Avatar when I saw it.
I was 33. I'd gotten married. I mean, so many doors were closed.
Oh, I got you beat there. I had a kid. I already had.
All right, you win. This is you know what? This is why I don't like having you on.
The role of old Jew is me.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I don't just dye my beard to look more sophisticated
on the second night of Hanukkah.
I saw the first one in the theater, and I remember getting excited for the idea of, like, my son was like 1 at the time, and I'm like, can't wait till, like, I can take him to this, because I really thought that first one. I've been such a fan of James Cameron. I mean, probably all of us are, to varying degrees. It's hard to find someone who's like, yeah, I don't really see the big deal about James Cameron.
I mean, for somebody to say I don't like any of his movies, look, you're entitled to that opinion,
but you're an asshole.
No, it's not even that. I just feel like most people probably at least like, the first Terminator or Aliens or, something. There's something that
in his
right, and it's not even about liking a James Cameron movie. It's about, like, at least you've heard about his movies. You know who he is.
Sure,
James
Box office.
And
and by the way, Titanic was the movie that I eventually dragged myself into seeing in the theater, because I was like, if I see it for the first time, and remember, our TVs were old little box TVs in those days. I'm like, if I see it for the first time like that,
crank on
there's,
the side.
where I have to switch the VHS cassettes in the middle of the movie. There's, like, so much less chance of me enjoying it. So I completely related to what you were saying, Marissa. It was like, if I'm going to see it in the theater, I was talking to my wife about this movie tonight, and she's like, I don't really need to see it, but if I'm going to ever see it, I need to see it in the theater in 3D and IMAX. And to Eric's point, my son really wants to see it because he is really enthralled with the ocean, and he wants, at least right now, he wants to be an oceanographer, possibly a marine biologist. So I'm like, I watched this movie sort of through those eyes a little bit, and I was just like, I mean, that doesn't even need to be good. He's never seen anything in 3D before. I mean, even in the world, we keep him in a 2D room.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
just fat polygons.
We've got one of those
movie. Everything's very.
We've got
flat.
one of those. Yeah, we've got one of those Cyclops from the X-Men visors on him at all times. So really, he just doesn't see anything. But back to your point, Eric. I'm sorry. So when you saw the first one, you were excited about bringing the littlest Connor to see it. Yeah.
And now I went and saw it because I was nobody's +1. I went with.
I took you to see Love and Thunder. Settle down.
I know. And I took you to the werewolf.
To Werewolf by Night. I know. So, so right now we're even. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna keep it that.
You guys are bickering on air. It's awesome.
And also, I bought you this thing. I bought you a Picard, man. I'm keeping this now. This stuffed Picard is now going to stay.
I'm traumatized by Jean-Luc after season 2 of his show. But please finish your thought.
So, so I saw this with my guys. My older son is 14, younger is 11, and I mean, seeing it with them definitely added something to it. And like,
for sure.
For them too. The re-release, in fact, was their first time seeing it in 3D. The original Avatar, and one of the few times they've seen any 3D. I mean, most of the 3D releases we've had over the past few years have been sort of, like not necessarily stuff shot for 3D or shot in 3D, stuff that was kind of, retconned into 3D, usually not very well.
Did they enjoy the 3D Ingmar Bergman Film Festival you took them to?
Well, of course. I mean, this is how are they going to learn about the sorrow and the pity if I don't take them to those films? But yeah, I have to say, like, I'm kind of a sucker, I think, for James Cameron's films. Like, even the first Avatar, yes, I knew it was Dance with Wolves and was it Fern Gully? I mean, the storylines, I mean, Titanic, they say Jack and Rose like 100 times, but yet at the same time, despite also having gone to film school and having that, I don't know, picky brain, I just every time I feel like it works for me. Like my whatever, deeper thinking kind of takes a little bit of a rest, and I just kind of get lost in his worlds. And I did with this one, even though there's definitely issues with it, but I will go see it again, and I'll definitely see it again in IMAX and 3D because I don't think seeing it at home is going to improve the experience at all.
I've just figured it out. Can you take my wife and kid to see it so that I can just see it the one time? Perfect.
Of course.
By the way, Jason Blair also all over the chat. Speak for yourself. Titanic looked great on Laserdisc on my 27-inch Tony Triniton XRB.
Okay.
As long as you hooked it up with an S video cable.
That is so specific, though. Like, who had laser? Okay. Oh, well, props to you, Mr. Blair. But
yeah.
It's the S cable. The S cable does
apparently, I'm just a square.
No, I feel like the S cable is absolutely the difference. I used to hook my laptop up with an S cable so I could watch MLB TV on my actual television back before it was just as simple as having an app. But I digress. So Marisa, that's your feeling heading into this. And then you take in all 3 hours and 12 minutes of and by the way, my friend Dan Reinish, who lives in Manitoba, he said it was 3 hours and 21 minutes. And I said, oh no, don't lie like that. It's 3 hours and 12 minutes.
So add more to it.
The Canadian cut is longer.
There's got to be a cut. Yeah, the Canadian cut is that. Well, it's because of the exchange rate. So for it to actually be worth the amount of money they charge, they have to put in an extra 10 minutes.
They just slow it down a little.
I hope he appreciates that joke. I'm going to send it to him. But anyway, so Marisa, you sit down for basically, you have to take a day off of work to see this movie. But so what do you think of, the movie as it starts and as it unfolds and continues to unfold, basically
keeps unfolding like the riptides that we get pulled into with these waters. Yeah, I mean, visually I was excited for it because, like, again, seeing the first one just fairly recently, I knew what I was getting into for this one, and being now with the movie film experience that I have going into this, I was like really excited to look forward to it, to watching this one. And yeah, visually fun, colors beautiful, gorgeous. I mean, it's James Cameron. I mean, he sets the bar pretty high. But man, and I'm such a big fan of story. And I gave him too much credit to think that there was going to be a good story to follow for 3 hours and 12 minutes. And surely that was not the case. And because I saw this, I mean, I wasn't any of your plus ones, but I was plus one with my boyfriend. And after seeing it, I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, that was basically a glorified swimming montage. If you take all the swimming out, and add somewhat of the fake story that they had, it could be an hour and 45-minute movie. But take the swimming out, and you're not really missing anything other than the fact that, yes, I get it. They moved to a different location. They're learning a different culture, learning the ways of the water. But man, it got to the point where I was like, okay, they're still swimming. Shoot, like breathe for air, and it got to the point. It got too long, and that way, and it took me out of it a lot of this movie. And maybe it's just my ADD, but I was like, 3 hours and 12 minutes was like way too long to watch 4 or 5 people swim the entire film.
It's interesting,
honestly.
Because, it's sort of like the argument of against the Lord of the Rings trilogy is like, how much walking can they do? They're still walking. Have they been walking for 3 movies? Like, get a bus or something. But anyway, I mean, I agree. I think that an hour 45 you're cutting too much. But you know what? This 3 hour and 12 minute movie, you could turn it into a 2 hour and 12 minute movie. I think it wouldn't be that hard, But I at the same time, I think that a lot of the visuals. And again, I'm watching it in the way of like, oh my gosh, my kid's gonna love like the giant whale creatures, not so much when they're being poached and whatnot, but get some valuable lessons out of that. So my difference of opinion is that I thought that the story was fairly thin, but the characters I found better and more interesting. And some of they made me care about them. I was like, damn it, Cameron, why am I caring? Damn it, Cameron, why am I caring about this blue family? Because I do. Damn it, Bobby. And because I cared about them. And I was like, let's be honest, the one that died is the one I cared about the least. But,
exactly.
If there was one.
I didn't care about Took at all either. I was like, oh, she was
a little
too young for, she was too young to do anything.
I've got a 5-year-old daughter, so I have to say I was worried about her a few times. But the oldest brother, you could have definitely put the Expendables logo on his forehead. And this is
I mean, I knew he
like, wait, I got an idea for some ink.
It's that joke from Hot Shots. His name translates loosely to dead meat.
Right, exactly. So I thought that so I was impressed just because I thought that the storytelling was so light in the first one. And I think that they, because talking to my son about this, like he's seen ads for it, he's seen trailers when we see other movies, he's seen posters, because we live in LA, there's posters everywhere. And he was talking about that he felt like he should see the first one. And I'm like, I kind of don't know that at 7 I want him to see the first one, because like the military industrial stuff is like so much more amped up. And I'm like, I gotta work. It's like, so I'd have to watch it again before he watches it. What it means is I'm watching the first one twice. I don't even like it. I'm just like, you know what? Let's go see the second one. And then if you really like it, maybe, you can watch the first one on your birthday in July or something. But so I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I thought in terms that I thought that the storytelling, while still, I would not describe it as strong, but stronger than the first. Flobo, I know you had to go on a walkabout a couple times during the movie.
So the second time was definitely a bladder break. So even though I'll say I didn't feel like.
Which, by the way, anybody who knows me knows that if you've been to a movie with me, you've seen me get up to go to the bathroom at least once, sometimes as many as 3 times.
You held on.
I sat through the whole movie, but that's because the free sodas they gave were the small size. So
rookie mistake. The first time I got up was because I was getting a migraine with the 3D stuff, so I slipped out and got myself.
It was the frame rate. I thought you thought it was.
Yeah, there were parts of it that looked like it was a video game, and I know that someone said that on the way out, but there was like
someone who said that on the way out was me.
Oh yeah, this one guy, he was just I don't know, look at it weird.
Some idiot.
Yeah, there were parts of it that looked like it was like 24 frames, and some were 29, and some were like 60. So at first my brain was like, bro, what am I focusing on? In the first 30 minutes, I had to step out and pop an Excedrin.
By the way, Jason Blair again, just hitting the speed bag. The Way of Water is a reference to the viewer's bladders and not the plot.
It's true. Visually, it's stunning. And Jason Blair had a comment about visual selling a movie. I think that's really what movies have.
If you're going to reference it, I'll bring it up.
Oh, please.
Haven't we gotten to the place where visuals can't sell a movie anymore? There's literally nothing that CGI can't do anymore. Bad effects can take you out of a movie, but effects alone can't be the sole thing to sell a movie.
Maybe as a construct, yeah. But you think about like romantic comedies, except for Crazy Rich Asians, which I went to support minorities. I haven't seen a romantic comedy in theaters in like 15 years, right? Because all the story is great, but it's like I can take that
home.
Right,
but wait, hold on. This is Flobo's way to remind everyone that he's single. Okay, that's why you haven't seen romantic comedy in a theater. Because I see almost all of them. I mean,
poor guy.
I even saw Must Love Dogs in theater, and even my wife didn't like that one. Though.
I have a dog here right now, and I wouldn't see that.
Right, but then like this is kind of a big deal. It's like, oh well, I didn't really like the first movie, but it was visually stunning, and so I think that is a draw for this one. And I think we got there. We got enough story to be like, okay, it wasn't a waste of my time. But I think that's the draw. That's why we get those Marvel movies, not because we love superheroes, it's because we play for spectacle.
Yeah, no, I think that I think that you're right, and so I think that you can't solely sell a movie on the spectacle. But look, I think the CGI. I mean, there are times that yes, this looked like a video game but that's more of a testament to how realistic video game characters look now. I mean, I haven't really been a regular video game guy since the original Nintendo Entertainment System. So if you don't look like Super Mario 3, obviously you're going to look more realistic. Yeah, I mean, yeah. First of all, raccoons don't fly, but let's really not.
Okay, Grandpa. I'm out of the video game.
All right, you're telling me that they do. You're telling me raccoons fly. All right, you know what? I don't know. Look, your neighborhood in Queens, maybe they did. Okay, I don't know.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, whatever.
It's the wrong borough.
It's 718 area code. Does it really matter? No.
Yes,
it doesn't.
It makes all the difference. Both my parents are from Brooklyn. Trust me, it makes all the difference.
Better bagels.
You never say Queens to this.
It's fine. He's a Mets fan, and the only thing that would have made sense. I forgot that. You've told me before you're from Brooklyn, so my apologies. But in any case, I don't know. I do think that that the visuals go a long way. Because something else that really Jason's the only one in the chat tonight because it's because it's past Dominicus Saxon's bedtime. He gets up too early in Idaho. What he did say earlier, the only plus of this movie is that I hear it might get people back to being invested in 3D home theater again because he has a 3D capable 4K Sony projector. I'm on board with that. I'm never interested in 3D in my house. I don't need it. I had a friend who had a 3D TV once and we watched something on it. And it was like the glasses didn't fit right and I couldn't turn my head that way. I was just like, no, I don't need that at home. It's cool at the movie theater. But your thoughts, Eric, sort of on the visuals, the 3D spectacle, and then we can get back to the movie itself. But in terms of this idea that the spectacle might not be enough to bring people to the theater, I mean, look, I've only ever seen 20 minutes of a Fast and Furious movie, and I assume that the only reason anybody ever sees them, I think I saw like 20 minutes of like 5 on HBO once at a friend's house. And look, some of us know some things aren't for us. Someone here, and I won't say who, just knows that they're not going to like Marvel movies and tends to not see them. But again, I won't identify anyone who I know feels that way because they don't want to be chastised. Although that person does see them anyway. But I just know it's like, yeah, they're not for me. Okay. And it's fine. They're for other people. It's fine. Romantic comedies, not for Flobo because he's dead inside.
I still watch it except for the theaters. I had the Netflix Q1.
No.
A Castle of Christmas and Brooke Shields was a classic, man. It came out last year.
He puts the chill in Netflix basically is what he's saying. Don't mess up Flobo's game here. Come on.
I know, Chris. Come on.
That's true. I'm sorry. I know. I was trying to.
Well, you do know I am the queen of Hallmark, so.
Oh yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
They finally have a Hanukkah movie, by the way.
Do they really?
Oh, really?
Yes, they've had Hanukkah movies. They've had Hanukkah on Rye. You're talking about Hanukkah on Rye. They've had Hanukkah movies in the past.
Wait, but you dismissed them.
Wait, Hanukkah on Rye.
No, I just totally watched one last week.
The movie is called Hanukkah on Rye. Is it set at Rye Playland, the amusement park in Westchester?
Someone would end up with an arm missing if it was at Rye Playland. Action Park.
Action Park.
Marisa, just to give some credit for your bona fides, you did handle all of the Hallmark content during your time at AfterBuzz TV, right? I mean, unless I'm wrong, you were on every show about Hallmark.
I was the one who spearheaded it there, so yes. And I actually know the writer who wrote Hanukkah on Rye this weekend, so there you go.
All right.
Just throwing that credibility out.
Is the sequel Hanukkah with a side of Golden's mustard?
No. But it is a new Hanukkah movie. But they have had Hanukkah movies in the past, but we digress.
Cool.
Well, this is the first one that Eric's wife made him watch.
No, we haven't watched. No,
first one you're probably interested in.
And by the way,
there you go.
Because yes, we all do know each other. A member of our temple is in it. She moved to Manitoba with her husband, and yes, she has a role in it. So, or a bagel in it.
It's so funny because when you said we all know each other, I thought you meant the 4 of us, and I'm like, no, I know them. And then I'm like, oh, that. I see. All right. So, Eric, the idea of the spectacle being an attraction, and if that was enough to keep you and the young Connors engaged in this film.
It's funny because I think it's when spectacle and emotion kind of go together. Because there's plenty of movies that have spectacle that you feel just sort of nothing when you watch it. And I feel like James Cameron's films, this one, the story, trust me, we're bringing up the various siblings in the family. And I thought the family stuff was actually kind of nice in terms of like actually having some kind of gravitas to it. But I also realized like I couldn't tell the brothers really apart from each other. I found their voices were kind of similar. And
Agreed.
So when one of them doesn't make it, it doesn't quite have the impact that you think it would. But yet at the end, the spectacle did help the emotion. Like I totally buy into these are real creatures. Like some of those moments, particularly when they're halfway in the water, those moments I thought were just the visuals there. I mean, just the photorealism of something that's not real at all. That's stunning to me. And that's the moments where I'm like totally pulled in, where the spectacle, I'd say, transcends the spectacle. But to Flobo, I think you're bringing up about the frame rate. And, remember back in the day when Blu-rays first launched at like Best Buy, and you'd go in and it was like X-Men 3 was playing, and it looked like a home video, except it's, I don't know, Dark Phoenix in your home video.
Right.
It had a couple of moments. It was weird because you're right. It wasn't consistent. It almost looked like it was different frame rates and different scenes.
Well, I mean, Eric, I think that's the perfect way to describe it, because when they would have the displays at Best Buy or at Costco, the TV wouldn't be set right for it.
Right.
It would be on the setting for like live sports or something. So nothing would really look right. So there were moments where it just didn't feel right. And I remember saying to Flobo, there were only a handful of sequences where everything on screen was human actors on a practical set. There's a couple of things on the carrier and like going into the little, I don't remember the little submersibles are. If they merchandise this movie better, I'd know what all the vehicles were called. But that's where George Lucas has the leg up on Cameron. He's like, oh, I can sell these at Christmas, don't worry. But and it felt like, because it was the only thing practical in the movie, it felt like I was watching something that had been shot on like, I don't know, I was gonna say an iPhone, but no, it was like it was shot on a camcorder. It just like looked so different. It was jarring because you get so used to seeing these, digitally rendered characters, and it's almost like, oh, they should have just digitally rendered some humans. They should have use that Grand Moff Tarkin effect from Rogue One, where you create people out of thin air. But apparently artificial intelligence is frowned upon these days. So, but pay the actors, but then render them in a way. Do like rotoscoping, where you take them and like, oh, we got it, but now we're gonna color it in. Did you experience any sort of fatigue from the visuals, Marisa? Any of the effects or any of that, or did you feel like that part was consistent for you, even if the story left you wanting?
No, actually, you think I would, but honestly, I was sucked in and I watched the entire thing. I didn't have to get up to go to the bathroom or anything, but I felt fatigued more so because it felt long. My legs were cramping up, and like I'm a fairly active person, so I wasn't moving for 3 hours. And someone who's like me, who's like constantly moving, I was like, all right, nice. It's long, so I was tired in that way. Like,
Whereas on the other hand, I once didn't move. Yeah, on the other hand, I once didn't move for 3 months, so I think that it feels different. I'm sorry, I interrupted you just for a dumb joke, but
no, I mean, I think it could also be a testament to my new contacts that like fixed me 2020, so like I saw it perfectly clear. But no, visually I wasn't. I think the color palette like really kept me awake and just drew my eye the entire time. Like not once was I visually bored. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, you definitely don't want to make a film like this and then people come out thinking, oh, the visuals were really dull at some point, but so the story definitely left you wanting, but you felt that the visuals worked. So the length seems to be the biggest problem. And look, I think that in this calendar year, I've seen movies that were long that didn't feel quite as long. Like my knock on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever had nothing to do with the running time. I was like, nah, that seemed to work enough for me. But the Batman was 15 minutes longer, and it felt like it was an hour and a half longer. I mean, the Batman is 13 minutes shorter than this. and it doesn't feel that way, so the pacing was okay, but man, this is one of those things where they are working towards sequel after sequel after sequel. Like, I didn't even remember, because I didn't rewatch the movie. I wanted to go and see it when it was in theaters because I thought that would have been helpful, but I did not remember Sigourney Weaver was in the first one.
Wow.
I just didn't remember because I hadn't seen it in like 12 years.
You blocked it out. It traumatized you too much.
It's a big deal, though. It wasn't like there's a character in the background having some snacks.
Yeah, she's the one that created the avatars for them to do the whole thing. So you got to give Sigourney Weaver credit.
I remember that she's in Ghostbusters.
I like powerful women. Christian, admit it. You get intimidated by powerful
that's really
women.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's
honestly, I wasn't expecting her to be in this one again, because when I saw the daughter, I can just tell, because if you watch enough Sigourney Weaver movies, she has those physical attributes and mannerisms, so you could just pick up on it, the way she speaks with her mouth and stuff. And then when we saw the daughter speak, I was like, oh my God, that's totally Sigourney Weaver, but just a younger character.
Yeah.
So, and then, they tied her to Grace. And I was like, all right, now they have Sigourney again. Smart. Sure. I'm for it.
Can we talk about that for 1 sec? Because that was maybe the weirdest of the choices they made. Was basically the thing we didn't see in the first Avatar was everyone apparently was screwing, because the evil general had a kid. Sigourney Weaver had a kid, and I'm like, what? Okay, like if it was one of those two, maybe. The fact they went to that well twice was a little odd, and then of course on top of that, they could just download their memories into new forms, and that was one of those, like, it felt like maybe they were trying just too hard to bring back some of those actors, and again, both those actors are terrific. I mean, I never will get tired of either of them. Although I didn't see Don't Breathe 2, because I think, I don't know, making that guy a hero in the second one, I wasn't up for that after the first one. But I thought that was such a bizarre choice that James Cameron made. Like, it felt almost like they were tying themselves in knots to keep those actors.
No, I completely agree too, because I was like, yeah, they're great actors in and of themselves, but also we're stuck with the same villain for 2 full movies, and now another one. Yeah. And like 13 years have passed, and we're still stuck with the same villain. It doesn't feel like there's any progression or any satisfaction when we saw his initial death in the first one. So I'm like, are we really sticking to the same people? You can't find other good actors to play bad villains? Really?
Yeah,
that was a big peeve of mine.
No, it was like I don't know. It's not. Look, he's great, but it's also like you don't have to. There's other bad guys out there. It's like
is J.K. Simmons busy? Like, I mean, you can't afford J.K. Simmons.
Honestly, probably. Yeah.
Actually, that's true.
He was too busy getting jacked, So, and then to tie into Sigourney Weaver, Jason says, if Avatar 3 has Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, it'll make $6 billion.
Fair.
You might not be wrong.
Annie Potts as well. Don't leave her out.
What about Rick Moranis? I mean, come on now. He's
kind of retired.
Yeah, he's kind of retired.
Yeah, he is.
But
we do need the gatekeeper.
That's true. Flobo. So we've explored sort of the things that made you get up and take a walk around Burbank just to rest your eyes. Yeah. But what was there from storytelling, whether it's the writing or the visuals or performances? Which performances might be a little bit hard to quantify in a film like this. What do you feel like connected with the strongest? Like, were there characters that you're like, okay, this is what I feel like this is keeping me in my seat, other than those 2 little walkabouts?
Yeah, for me, it was a world building, not necessarily the tribe themselves of the water people, but rather, you kind of assume. I have to apologize. I assumed that all Navis were woodland, right? So to see that world building, very much like how John Wick was, kind of the background, things are building as it's going, which is pretty cool. To me, that was a counterbalance, because I did not like Spider in this film at all. I felt like everything was reverse engineered for that kid. So whenever time he was not on screen and we were learning how to swim, I was like, cool, don't go back to that dude who just happens to be there. So that's what the balance was, left and right.
Yeah, I didn't love Spider. First of all, it's a terrible character name. I mean, it's like there's a lot. If you had to give him an animal name, he could. I don't know. Well, you couldn't. You couldn't name him Hedgehog because that's Ron Jeremy, and we don't talk about him anymore. But he could have been a badger. I mean, there's so many other animals he could have been, and I don't know. But yeah, that whole character, I was just like, why did this guy not kill him? Because he's like, you're not really my kid. At some point, why did that kid not get thrown in the water by somebody? I don't know. So you're basically saying everything except for Spider.
Yeah. Yeah, there was it was a whole different mood and vibe. But then you have this human character amongst these navies who tries to live amongst them, but like inorganically, but then is a helper, but then a double agent, but then used as a leverage piece. But that's not really quite earned, but it gets earned anyway. Everything that was a misstep for me, every wrong note on the DDR machine involved Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that he's able to basically sink that aircraft carrier, just by, he's definitely not being detained properly. So yeah, I guess there's some weak moments in there, but I do agree that was the thing after I saw it that I felt like they did a good job with the world building because the water tribe and all of that was new, it was different. So I found it all to be interesting and, making me care a little bit about some of these new characters, the brothers of, like, I don't know, the king, I don't know what his role was, whatever he was, who like, we're going to trick you into coming way out here and, hopefully drown you, that was basically what it seemed like their plan was, He made me look bad in front of everybody. So, we'll make sure you drown. But, so I think that it was, again, it goes back to like more than the first one, but still not like amazing. But the building the world of the water, the titular water in the way of water, I thought that they did a really good job with that. And I agree with you, Marisa, sorry, that they spent so much time with the water, with like each drip of the, it's like, okay, it does look cool, but is it that cool that we got to spend that much time with it? But I do think that sort of the one thing that was very indulgent was the like humpback whale creatures, like when we first meet them, and the one that's like the outcast and he first gets to meet him. And yeah, I know these characters have names, but come on, really, I don't even remember all the blue people's names, so I'm gonna remember the whale character. Let's just call him Free Willy. But
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, okay, so basically Free Willy.
Basically Free Willy, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So I thought that like that stuff, I thought that developing it was good. It was interesting. But yeah, I mean, you could trim 5 minutes here, 20 minutes there. I get it, all that, but I don't know. It did work for me on that level though. But what do you feel, Marisa, were the strongest things? Like, so the storytelling was a little light, but were there, did you think that the usage of the flashback sort of to Sigourney Weaver's character, anything like that, was anything interesting to you? Like, oh, I'm surprised. Are we interested to know who the father is? Do we care about that? Does that have us coming back to Avatar 3?
I'm interested now because now we know people were screwing around and getting busy. And so if you're going to leave that open-ended and like bring that to the audience, now just out of curiosity, we're going to figure out who are the parents, because we know the mother, we know the father, but we don't know the significant others. So I was like, maybe that'll probably be something that answers in the third movie. So we have to wait for that. So like they brought up a lot of things to obviously answer later. And I'm already annoyed with that because who knows how long we have to wait to the next one. But I get it.
Done though, right?
Storytelling.
So it could come out next year if they wanted to. Isn't it done?
You would think. I don't know.
Stretch it out though.
Right. But exactly. And it's like, all right, sure, intrigue, just for pure curiosity's sake. But I mean, it's the same characters though. So I'm not, it's like, Yeah, I think the only new people that we got were the family minus one, and but I do have to say I do like the combination of two different tribes. Now, I mean, the first one was all the forest people and learning that world, but now bringing it and expanding the world and then adding more characters and having this, camaraderie, I guess you could say, and brotherhood, what have you, with more people. There's going to be a big war in the future of some sort. We don't know, but now we have like double the amount of people. That's going to be visually cool to look forward to.
I have a question. Does it bother anyone that the forest people had like no skills that they could transfer over? Like it was a one-way learning thing. It's like, thanks for techniques. Bye. We just ruined your entire kingdom.
I'm not sure how the water people though would do on the vines.
Yeah,
exactly. With those big gummy hands. Like
that's not what I meant.
Yeah. I think what Flobo doesn't realize is that sometimes you need to stay in your own lane. And that's the way that Pandora was created, which is like, no, these people stay here, those people stay there, and then it's like you can travel and you can go visit the other tribe, but I don't know that you're gonna do that well.
Flourish well.
Yeah. Earlier today, Eric and I were talking a little bit about this movie when we were recording something else, and that's when I basically drafted you. You were conscripted into the Bladtcast army to join us tonight, so I appreciate that. But the idea that there probably won't be quite so many sequels, I think, is something that we were in agreement on, right?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, my hope of hopes, which is not going to happen, would be the third one is basically they have to go to Earth. Because I think that's a way to like vary it, because I don't see like the third one would be what exactly? More people come to the same place, they go to another planet. I don't know. But that idea, if they really wanted to make this kind of a closed trilogy, it would make sense if you and I were talking before about like, in essence, the Terminator 2 plot of like try to cut this thing off at the pass, go to Earth, and in essence take out all the armies that were going to come their way. But it seems like they've already, yeah. I mean, but it seems like they already have a lot of the third one in the can already. So I know he had said some kind of statement about if this one doesn't do so great, the third one can be kind of wrapped up with a bow. But I'm really curious now. It's like, okay, so the third one, they didn't really. Marisa, what you were saying about like the sort of intrigue for the next one, you're right. It's kind of like, it's not really intrigue. It's like, I don't really care who the parents are. That's not the thing that's going to keep me up at night for the next 2 years.
Speak for yourself.
Well, Andy, listen, I know you are very into genealogy with the fine Blatt name and the Blatt heritage. I get it. But I as much as I enjoyed this one, I don't know if they've necessarily given us so much that would make us thirst for a third one in 2 years or 3 years. So, I mean, I think James Cameron, I mean, he's coming off a kind of like a jerk in interviews recently. He's just throwing shade on the Marvel universe and everything else. And
it's like, you know that's your same parent company, right? And you know that what you do is not that different. For Scorsese and Tarantino to talk the way that they do about Marvel movies, you do something very different. James Cameron doesn't do something different than what Taika Waititi and the Russo brothers do. It's like his storytelling style is different, whatever. But it's like you're making
demographics are the same.
Yeah, you're making big spectacle movies. Know, it's like you're in the same league as these guys, and it is the same parent company. Do you want them to give you enough money to do the fifth one?
Avatar 4 maybe is the straight to video one with a really low budget. Where you get Lorenzo Lamas to be in it, Dude,
Lorenzo Lamas is badass, man. Circa 1989, but
he's affordable. He's an affordable.
Wow, I think he's tied up on the Renegade reboot though. So
well, I look at like the Divergent series. They didn't finish their franchise when the money ran out.
Didn't they put one on like a streamer or something?
They were saying that. That's what Shailene Woodley dropped. He was like, I'm not doing TV. And that was a wrap.
Yeah. Well, there was but I mean, if you
Aaron
think
Rodgers,
about another,
they were bad.
Another big intellectual property that, just sort of went away was Chronicles of Narnia, because Like Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, I think was really well done. You know, they really leaned into the lion equals Jesus angle, but you know, it's C.S. Lewis, so yeah, that's what you're going to take away from the source material.
Wait a minute, that's what it was about?
Yeah, I'm sorry. They didn't tell you, did they?
Symbolism, man. It was symbolism upon symbolism.
But I'm gonna put on my Creed album now and just relax.
Then they had the one where they were on the boat.
My own
Prince Caspian.
Yeah, and then Disney's like, we're gonna go ahead and tap out now. So I think the third one came out, but then they stopped making them. And you know, I mean, obviously Disney was like, we're gonna do Harry Potter business with this. And I mean, it's kind of like why Lion the Witch and Wardrobe was the only one that people knew. You know what I mean? Because the other stories were so different, and it wasn't really a through line. So it, you know, yeah, I mean, when you have I don't know. I mean, then
have you ever read the books?
Did you read the books?
Actually, I did. No. Yeah, I have all of them.
I read the first one because I liked the animated movie of it, so I read that. I was more of a Wrinkle in Time guy, and that's another thing that isn't a franchise.
Yes, Madeline L'Engle. Yes.
So what? And you know, it's not what we set out to talk about. But do you understand why it wasn't going to work as a film series because the books were so different? Or
I think and I think it's like if you read all of them, there are so many different ones. There are too many stories.
Well, it's the same thing. There's like 20 Oz books, but there was only really the Wizard of Oz, and then they did that other one in the 80s, you know. But and then of course Wicked. But I think we're losing the through line here if I'm talking about Wicked. But
I think it's to put a back first look. I think a lot of issues with Narnia or even John Carter, for example, is that there's so many properties that were inspired by that material that when that came out, you're like, oh, I think I've seen this before. It's like it became like inverse derivative. You know what I mean? Like a kind of
it's like oh, you have to watch Abbott and Costello because they're really funny, but yet like Bugs Bunny does that shtick, and that's what you've seen already. Right. You know, so it's a lot of
like really you should watch. No, but like really, you should watch Laurel and Hardy first because they came out first.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And then
it's just what's that? Well, I was gonna say the poor Golden Compass came out, and everyone was like,
"Oh yeah,
we're good, we're good,
we're good." Set it back.
Yeah.
Set it back.
So,
but the show is so much better than the movie.
What Golden Compass?
Yeah, the HBO show.
Oh, I didn't even know there wasn't
His Dark show. Materials.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't realize that's
the Golden Compass. That. Yeah, they made it into a series.
So should Hallmark have done it as a series? Would it have been better?
Nope, it is way too dark for Hallmark content.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know.
Yes, but go watch His Dark Materials.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So, I mean, I think that we'll certainly get one more. I don't know. I mean, I think it's so tough to judge box office receipts now because everybody's just like, do they want the spin? Is the article being written with the intention of saying that it did well, or are you setting out from a place of like, look what a disaster this is? And because nobody's really saying like, nobody's just presenting the facts, you know. And I don't know. I mean, it's like when a movie doesn't make $1 billion, it's apparently a failure. Considering like this movie not making $1 billion internationally, I think it would be because the amount of time and money that they've put into it. So look, if they want to go ahead and wrap up the story with one more, I'm not going to complain. I didn't even know that I needed this one. I definitely like this one better than the first one, although clearly I haven't seen the first one in like 3 presidential administrations. So it's, you know, it's been a while. But so does this movie, I'll ask each of you before we start to wrap things up. Does this movie make you more or less likely to rush out and see Avatar 3 whenever it opens, Marisa?
Less likely if I know it's going to be the same time length. Because, I mean...
What if it's 3 hours and 8 minutes?
Then I might think about it.
Okay, good.
I think the thing is
3 hour, 1 minute.
Right. I think the thing is so much time passed from the first one to the second one. People wanted to watch the second one. But now that the turnaround to the third one is so short, I think people might be actually slower to see the third one because technology has advanced so much in 13 years. The things that they did in 2009 were groundbreaking, and now the things they're doing in this one, also groundbreaking. But if we get another movie in a year, the technology is not going to be as groundbreaking from the second to the third. So I think a lot of people are really clamoring for this one, but not for the third one. They might hold off a while for the third one.
Well, Flobo, the same question. If Avatar 3 comes out and you don't get a text from me that says, hey, do you want to come all the way out to Burbank for 1, a free press screening, 2, there'll be popcorn, 3, there'll be sodas.
Yeah, start with the popcorn first. No, I think I would do it. I think there's enough goodwill in there that I wouldn't rule it out. Like there was nothing wrong with this movie, or even the first one. I walked out being like, all right, that was Silver Spider. That was pretty cool.
Spider.
Would I see it first weekend? No. I think after getting a migraine, I would have to wait for 2D or at least wait to see is that the frame rate issue got kind of leveled out. But as a story as it is, there's nothing that did wrong that made me go, oh, I'm done here. So yeah, why not?
What about you, Eric? Do you feel like Spider should go get his shine box, or will you stick around for a little while?
That cast is bigger than your head. Spider. Spider, man. It's funny. Like
it does whatever Spider can.
He does.
Or Spider-Man, our other favorite.
James, Return of the Bell.
You almost feel like Spider feels like the character the studio would normally force someone to add. We need like a cute little feral kid, kind of like
Tarzan, it's like Bob Chapek's
annoying.
Nephew.
Right.
What the fuck is he doing?
But that James Cameron didn't take a single note, and this is that's the thing too. It's like this is the kind of like, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like Phantom Menace in terms of quality, but when Lucas was doing Phantom Menace, no one could tell him anything. He was financing it himself, so he didn't take a single note from any person, and you could see the result, unfortunately, of that. This one,
people gonna die.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many people got offended by one film that's set in a galaxy far away. That takes some work. But with this one, I mean, does it have to be over 3 hours? God, no. And this is one of those cases where I think like having a little bit of studio involvement would have actually really helped the storytelling. I think they would have said, hey, listen, like this middle is kind of dragging. Like Marisa, to your point, like this is not one of those old musicals with the swimming and the people coming out of the fountain. Like
it's not a Busby Berkeley.
Busby
musical.
Berkeley, right.
Yeah.
Like we could probably lose about 20 minutes of that, and it would have been, I think, a tighter piece. I mean, it sounds like in this ground I might have been the biggest fan, but this, as much as I enjoyed it, as emotional as I found it at times, and as remarkably spectacle-wise it is, I'm not. It didn't excite me for a third one. So I think that's our biggest issue here. Is it's kind of like Matrix 2. I wasn't even a huge fan necessarily of the Matrix, like a lot of people, but I at least understood that. Well, I mean, it was groundbreaking. It did all these things, but Matrix 2 came out, and the third Matrix came out half a year later and made half the money of the second one. Like they basically
it was half as enjoyable. I mean, I agree. That's a perfect example, because I think that the first Matrix, I would say, is still a entertaining, watchable movie. But even in the moment, those sequels, I think when you make your sequels back to back, it usually they did Back to the Future 2 and 3 back to back, and I
Pirates of the Caribbean, same thing. 2 and 3.
I like Back to the Future 3 more than most people do, because I thought it was fun. It was different, and for me, Back to the Future 2 suffers from the Empire Strikes Back problem, where it's like it's all right movie, but it doesn't end. It's just like you got to come back for more, because it's not over. At least this Avatar 2, it does have an ending. If for some reason, they like lost the negative for 3, there's like one or two like lightly lingering questions that you're like, man, I'm good. It's over. It can be. They can go back to more, but and let's not even talk about the Matrix 4, by the way. Which
right, I was just going to ask, did anyone ask for Matrix 4?
Doogie Howser, because he got
Keanu Reeves' accountant. That was about it.
But NPH was like, I would be in another another Matrix movie, and they're like, I mean, I guess we make it for Neil, right? I mean, if Doogie asks, Doogie gets. But I don't know. Yeah, and look, here's gonna. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you, Eric. Do you think your kids are excited for a third one, or they're just like, okay, yeah?
No, most definitely. I mean, I think they would. I mean, third one will come out. We'll see it opening weekend again. I mean, I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, I don't doubt me for a second wanting to see the third one opening weekend,
Sure.
but more in the way I just don't want everyone telling me what happens in it. Like, you know, it's not as much like I'm burning like to see this next one. Like, I don't know, you know, Infinity War into Endgame, which, I mean, talk about an ending of a film that made you so hungry for another one. This one doesn't have that, unfortunately.
Yeah, even though you knew that everyone wasn't going to stay dead, you still were like, I want to see how they come up with it, you know.
That's right.
Having to wait for it for a year. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, seeing it with my kid will be a big testament to, you know, the excitement for what comes next. Because if he's excited, I'll be excited. But I don't know. Also, I'm like, is he going to be terrified after like 40 minutes? There's like that part with like the shark-like creatures going after the kid, and I'm like, that's one thing where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be too much. Or your kids are bigger than mine, and you know, like until last summer, my son thought that Star Wars was going to be too scary for him. He's like, oh, maybe I'll watch it when I'm older. But then you know, as I've talked about, he wanted to see the Jungle Cruise movie. He was the one. And he liked it, but I'm like, there's stuff in that Jungle Cruise movie. I'm not even talking about the quality of the writing or anything like that. There's actual things that happen on screen that are scarier than anything in Star Wars. Scarier than Jar Jar Binks. I mean it. And
Jungle. You know, like, you sure you took him to Jungle Cruise and not like cruising with Al Pacino?
No, it's the same. It's literally the same movie. Yeah, so it was. Yeah, or I think it was a Marathon of the Love Boat. Honestly, it all kind of runs together. It's the same thing. So look, I'll be interested to see where it all goes. And the quickness with which I see something, I agree with Eric's point. It's like we live in the age where, you know, a show has a season finale. People on the East Coast are talking about it, you know, before it's even aired in the West Coast. That's why I'm so glad I don't watch reality television, because, you know, like competition shows like American Idol and things like that, people just start yapping on Facebook about like, I can't believe so and so won. And then it's like, yeah, we haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But yeah, I mean, do you think I want to watch a Disney Plus show at midnight on a Tuesday? No, but I also don't want to wake up in the morning and scroll past the wrong thing and go, oh, I would have liked to have seen that for myself. I would have liked to have Daredevil show up and you know, then be like somewhat surprised. So yeah, it's a lot of that. But anyway, at some point it'll come out, and hopefully we'll all reassemble and talk about it, and we'll see where everybody is sitting there. What is something that you've seen in the last few months that you would consider to be great, Marisa? Whether it's television, could be a Hallmark movie, could be a theatrical movie, could be anything really.
Oh gosh, because I've watched so much, honestly, and now it's all just blurring together, and I'm forgetting that I've
it's
seen
all
anything.
One movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I just saw The Menu, and
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Visually, it's good. Storyline gets pretty crazy. It's one of those movies where there's a turning point, and there's a clear turning point. You're like, oh, something's happening. I think that was probably the most recent movie that like really made me think and feel something afterwards, like viscerally have a reaction. That and Triangle of Sadness. For probably
I don't even know what that one is.
In the movie race that because we're now approaching award season, I think The Menu and Triangle Sadness will like be big contenders this year.
Well, not a big contender. The movie that I was very pleasantly surprised with, but it will be on no ballots at Oscar time. It delivered everything that I thought I would get from the trailer, and then had a shocking amount of heart, and I really had fun with it. Was Violent Night, where David Harbour plays Santa Claus in like a Die Hard movie, and I was like, God damn it, that was like fun, you know, and it's not Silent Night, Deadly Night territory. Sorry to let you down, Eric. I feel like that's probably near and dear to your heart. That's the only Christmas movie that was watched in the Connor household was Silent Night, Deadly Night. But that was like the one thing that I saw lately where I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to get. And it was like, I did, but in a good way, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be up for any nominations. So Flobo, for you, is it all just wrestling content has been the best stuff that you've watched lately? NXT UK, is that really?
Well, NXT UK has been canceled for 3 months, but I appreciate you know what that was.
Look, I've read you on Twitter. Yeah, it's only 3 months. It's a good enough reference.
It's coming back. NXT Europe next year. I do have a podcast not nearly as prolific as yours, called Flobo on Netflix, where to make Netflix a write-off, I watch old Netflix shows and talk about it. And I actually enjoyed the Slumberland reboot, the little emo Slumberland. They gave it the family movie treatment with the budget. Francis Lawrence from Constantine directed it with Jason Momoa. I thought it was really cute and smart, had a bit of heart. I first thought Nemo was a bit older for the role, but as the movie progressed, I was like, this is perfect. And so totally enjoyed that one.
Did you watch the documentary series about the kid who tried to get the Harrier jet from Pepsi using Pepsi points? That's
no.
Yeah, it's based on a true story. So, but there, did either of you watch that, or was I the only one who was dumb enough to watch that?
I started watching a little bit of it, but I've been wanting to watch the rest. Actually, I thought it looked kind of brilliant.
That story sounds vaguely familiar, though.
Yeah, it was like there was the Pepsi points. There was a commercial that said if you had 7 million Pepsi points, they'd send you a Harrier jet. So this guy figured out a way to do it, which is interesting. There's like a real person who appears halfway through the series that I didn't know was involved in this, so it kind of like blows your mind for a minute. And then it's just like, it's not a movie. So like the ending is, a lot of times when things are based on real events and they stick to the real events, you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's just
real life sucks.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's like, oh, there's, it's like, okay. What about you, Eric? If you're going to give a rec to something,
if I'm going to give a what to something?
Recommendation.
I don't speak this short talk thing.
It's because you were born in the early 70s, whereas I was born in the late 70s.
I'd like to think 74 is mid 70s.
Yeah, I'm also 76, so I'm the early late 70s.
Splitting hairs.
Early mid. Splitting what few hairs I got up top.
You're the late early 70s. I think it makes sense.
Well, for my old man eyes and ears, so a few that really kind of stuck with me. One was Marcel the Shell, which my wife and
Jenny
I
Slate.
saw. Yeah, that was so good and so unexpected. And there's like so many moments where it just sort of makes you kind of like the Mr. Rogers movie, where you just sort of stop and sort of listen and think.
Wait, do you mean the Mr. Rogers documentary or the Tom Hanks movie?
I understand.
That was perfectly timed. The Tom Hanks one, but I love the documentary too.
The documentary is so much better because it's real.
Of course,
it is.
But Tom Hanks is
but Marcel the Show, I think it's again we're using that word transcend. It definitely transcended its form, and I mean to think it just kind of came out as like a series of like cute little shorts, but they found something that actually had some real meaning. I thought the documentary Fire of Love about the volcanologists is actually the way to pronounce the word, where they're a couple and it was all their footage over decades of exploring volcanoes, including the one, and this is not a spoiler because it's the movie, including the one that took their lives. That one I saw in the theater.
Kind of sounds like a spoiler to me.
No, but it's not.
It's not a spoiler, but
no, that's the whole point of it, though.
Oh,
is like this is their archival footage.
It's like, I saw this movie Grizzly Man, and I don't want to spoil anything, but Grizzly Bear acts like a grizzly bear in it.
The beginning of the movie, that's its lead, though. So, anywho, I thought, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once is. It feels to me like that's the movie that seems to have a lot of momentum right now, and. Just the fact that I'm like watching that, I even watched it on an airplane. I tried to see it in the theater, it didn't happen, but I thought that thing was just so fresh. And weird and unique and marched to its own wonderfully odd drummer. So that was one that for me lived completely up to the hype, and love the performances in that. I'm glad to see Ke Huy Quan is getting so much like respect from it too. I was worried he'd be sort of forgotten amidst all the other performances, but he really he's really surprising in it. So that's my three. I've really stuck with me beyond the experience of seeing it.
When we look back at the year 2022, there's only one moment in entertainment that anyone should be talking about, and that's Bladtcast 500, where I spoke with John Lovitz for 2 hours. That's really what everybody should be looking back towards. But second to that is Bladtcast 517, which we just finished right now, which was all of us talking about Avatar 2. I appreciate everybody who gave us some time. Let's take a moment and let people know where they can find you. Marisa, where can people interact with you, and what could they possibly see you doing anytime soon? I think you and Phil still read books and talk about them on
read books. Oh,
I was just, it's so funny because we're actually covering a book tomorrow. We're still big nerds. That hasn't changed. I'm everywhere at Serafini TV, mostly Instagram. That's the only one I really stick to anyways, because Twitter's exhausting and Facebook's exhausting. So Instagram, Serafini TV. I changed my name so you can read that. I read books, I watch movies, and like I'm an editor, so you usually see me behind the scenes, not in front of the camera. But I pop up on people's podcasts if they ask me. Yeah.
Oh, she does. She does. She was on my podcast.
Did you?
Hey.
Yeah, Flobo. Your Netflix show. Let's talk.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Yeah, right, exactly. And Flobo,
yeah,
everyone knows that you're responsible for new content every day. Where can they find it?
Well, I'm on Twitter, which I do follow Serafini TV, which you haven't done already, at Flobo Boyce, and also on Instagram at Flobito, and Flobito.com, FLOBITO.com. That's the hub. You get to know more about that. If you want to know the podcast I'm a part of, NewAmsterdam.com. That's KNEW Amsterdam.com.
Is that the one? No, that's not the one I was on. Which one was I on? Am I on was I on Flobo After Dark? Or
yeah, you're on Flobo After Hours. Yeah, that was Pete. That was Tiger King era pandemic where things were fun.
Everything was fun there.
Yeah.
And Eric Connor, apart from being a regular contributor to Marvel Movie Talk on the Bladtcast YouTube channel Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, where else can people find you?
Well, you could find me roaming the streets of Burbank, occasionally with an old school wrestling figure in honor of Flobo. With the original belt, by the way. This thing is going to put one of my kids through 5 minutes of college.
Let's go, kid.
Yeah. So, Eric Connor.
Wait, that's the WWF Hulk Hogan. I thought that was the I'm gonna go hang out with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife's Hulk Hogan.
That figure I keep in the original case.
Okay, so
no, that one's
also was valuable. Yeah,
that one's way too valuable. And illegal.
By the way, don't pull the string and make that one talk. You don't want to hear what he has to say.
Talk about After Dark. Jeez.
Things take a real turn as we go past 10 p.m. But
once we get past the 1 hour and 10 minute mark, forget it. All goes out the window.
Filter off.
Anyway, but where can you be found?
Well, you can see me, Eric Connor, CONNER, at Instagram. Twitter, although I agree, it's a scary place now, Twitter. So, come by on Instagram, say hi. I'm hanging around Facebook with my middle name, Adam, as well. And, it was fun. It was fun coming over and swimming in the waters with you all tonight. So thank you for that.
Tell everybody where to find your movie. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Other Voices, a documentary, is over on Amazon Prime. And I think it's part of Prime right now. So
yes,
as long as you paid for that subscription, which, we all did.
Just for the shipping, but we still have it. So
but Christian hates real life. You just confirmed that a minute ago.
No, I hate my life.
He just woke up his kids by yelling at that wall. So
look, they need to know that Uncle Flobo is responsible for new content every day. All right, and I think it's important.
I want my kids to have an Uncle Flobo.
You can.
Thank you, Flobo.
Maybe you could be on New Amsterdam sometime.
Yeah.
All right, but and of course I can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Christian DMZ. Subscribe to the Bladtcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST, to get the video versions of shows like this, but also the audio version is everywhere except, as I was pointed out to me by Sam Whitfield, everywhere except for Spotify. So I have to do something about that. I thought it was there. So that shows how much attention to detail this guy plays. Yep, that's what they call me. Old sleeping the switch Blatt. So until oh my gosh, this Friday we're going to be doing our Bladtcast Christmas special. So join us live, time TBD. But Friday, December 23rd, the latest we've ever done it because of the way that Christmas Eve falls. So join us then. But until then, we'll see you next time on the Bladtcast.